Now, as TikTok tiff is...
It's easy for you to say.
It's not necessarily, is it? Is merging following a new online trend. So you might have seen this, I'm sure you have. Parents cracking an egg on their child's head while they're cooking in the kitchen. Kind of like a surprise. Yeah, you can do it. I don't mind.
No.
I'm not going to dare you, because I know where that'll lead. But some people aren't that happy, are they?
Is this TikTok prank taking things too far? Let's have a look and see what all the fuss is about. Joining us to discuss this is influencer and mum of 4, Ola Palavangu, who says the trend has gone too far, and Ben Anderson, dad of 6 and also an influencer, who says it's just a bit of fun. Let's come to you first, Ola. Why do you think it's gone too far?
I feel like it's one thing to feel like parents are making their children the butt of the joke. It's based on humiliation. And I think it's borderline, like, bullying a little bit. And children model behaviour that they see from their parents. And it's like, where do you draw the line? Because the parents are participating in this trend, but where are they going to go next with the next? Would you do it if it wasn't trending? I think that's a question a lot of parents.
Good point, Ben. You know, the next time your child, and you've got 6 of them, does something that you don't want them to do, as a prank or a joke, you're going to be able to not really tell them off, aren't you?
I guess so. I think the reality is we do live in a society now where these challenges are always going to be around. You know, this isn't the first one. It's definitely not going to be the last one. I think there has to be some sort of... I view it as more of a light-hearted joke-type challenge, one that I don't take as seriously. I showed the challenge to a few of my kids because a few of our friends have done it, and they were all in fits of laughter. But the one thing that I did think about was the reason that I hadn't done it personally was because one of my children, I wasn't sure how he would take it.
Right.
Whereas I was pretty confident that my girls would find it absolutely hilarious. And so it was just a bit of a judgment call that I'd made.
Well, that's the thing, is it? Kids don't understand what the trauma might be. Kids don't understand the physical harm it might do. I mean, you know, I think about, let's say a kid did this in a classroom and the teacher turns around and says, "What are you doing?" Johnny says, "Would you do this at home?" And he'll say, "Yeah, my mum did it with me yesterday." I mean, that's where we're at, right?
I guess that's a valid point. I suppose when you look at the reactions on those little clips that we just saw there, the kids are laughing, you know, they found it hilarious, a little bit shocked. And I think that's the point. When the child finds something like that funny, and remember, it is in a controlled environment, I'm definitely against, you know, if one of those children had cried their eyes out and then mum or dad had posted it
online. But so many of them have.
And I think that's an issue. I think that's definitely an issue.
Yeah, I think it's non-consensual playfulness. It's almost like the personal boundaries that we teach our children to have from such a young age. And if we're crossing those lines because of wanting to post it, like I said, it's one thing to do it, but it's another thing to share it with the world, where you can't remove it off the internet, can you?
You have to make lots of calls, don't you, as a parent? We live in a world where that exists. They will encounter it. Some might argue that they might as well encounter it within a safe environment of their home to learn their boundaries, which is part of parenting anyway, because they're going to go into a world of social media crazes.
But if that's their safe space, it's almost like you're not just breaking an egg, you're breaking the trust in the home kind of thing. And I think we are almost like the guinea pigs of this social experiment, because social media hasn't been around long enough for us to see the effect of what this will have on children. Today, it's a broken egg, but an accumulation of putting your child at the butt of the joke.
Well, there have indeed been some very serious ones, haven't there, along the way, which are, well, I'd be interested to know your view on it. So there was the paracetamol challenge, where people encouraged to take a higher dose of paracetamol that was recommended. There was a beer suntan trend where people were encouraged to cover themselves in beer. These are grown-ups, to be fair, you know, so you could say they have choice, but of course you go out into the sun covered in alcohol and you burn. And there was also one back in 2020, a back crack challenge, which people were very concerned was actually, you know, getting a sound of your back cracking was actually very harmful. So where would you draw the line if you're pro it?
I think, again, it's got to be about safety. You know, is it unsafe, or is there a potential harm or damage that could be done? You know, if this was anything other than an egg, something that could seriously injure the child, I would definitely be against it, and I think that's almost a common sense approach.
But we're in this world, aren't we?
There are clips where the child has actually hit the parent back. So if we think of it in that context, so you are just breaking an egg on this thing, but what you are doing is, like, that hitting an egg on someone's head is about, you are allowed to cross those boundaries. So if you get a call from the school that your child has whacked another child, just remember that where it started from, which
But, you know,
is home.
the thing this is all fueled by, and sadly, is that people wanting to get likes or, you know, getting more followers and getting more hits. And that's what it's driven by. That is the fuel that parents want a lot of people to follow their accounts.
Yeah, Ben?
No, you carry on.
This chase for virality, I think, is a slippery slope. And like I said, when our children are 16 and they turn around and say, this is how you made me feel, you can't take it back then.
All right, Ben and Ola, we'll have to leave it there. We have done a Twitter poll. 83% said, yes, the trends have gone too far. 17% said no.